everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about Witness and its brand new 4K Blu-ray that just came out from Arrow Video. So Witness was originally released back in 1985. It's directed by Peter Weir, who's directed some of my favorite films. He actually directed Fearless from the early 90s, which is really underrated and is still my favorite film that he's ever released. He also directed Dead Poet Society. People love that movie from the late 80s. Robin Williams gives one of his best performances in that. And The Truman Show. That is one of Jim Carrey's best career performances. He finally showed people that he was a great dramatic actor, as well as one of the greatest comedic actors of all time. And Peter Weir directed all of these films, but this was his first American film, and he got really lucky with this one because they were searching for a director forever. They couldn't find a guy, and finally Peter Weir became available because he was one of their first choices, but he was getting ready to make The Mosquito Coast, which he would eventually do with Harrison Ford. But he nailed this directing role down because this screenplay was being passed around like cocaine in the 1980s, so everybody had their hands on it, but nobody really would commit to it. But finally Paramount did. They had the director, and they nailed down their star in Harrison Ford and his female love interest, Kelly McGillis, who was having a great 1980s. This is only a couple years before her performance in Top Gun with Tom Cruise, but her and Harrison Ford have great chemistry in this movie, very different than the chemistry that her and Tom Cruise do not have in Top Gun. That is one of the worst sex scenes in film history. Luckily, Harrison Ford has this grit about him. He's like a grizzly man, a real working man, and him and Kelly McGillis, they just connect. Because this movie's about a homicide detective played by Harrison Ford. Kelly McGillis and her son, they're Amish people living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Amish people, you know, they have no connection to technology. They're overly religious. They kind of live in their own little world. They don't really come out of it. But Kelly McGillis and her son, they have to travel one day on the train, and in the train station, they see Danny Glover and another guy kill a man in a bathroom. Well, the kid did. Kelly McGillis was sitting outside the bathroom at the time. So the kid sees this happen. He's the only witness to this crime. No idea what the hell is going on. You know, he's scared. This is something that he's not used to. You know, he's impressed with just regular technology, like a water fountain. We take water fountains for granted here, but this kid, he's like, oh my God, a thing that gives you water just like that? Impressive. So he sees this murder happen, and you know, now he's the only witness. But the only thing is, this murder turns out to have a lot more going on than appears. It doesn't seem like just your regular old murder. Unfortunately, it's found out that, you know, the guy who did this murder, Danny Glover, he himself is a pretty high-ranking cop as well, so this uncovers an entire conspiracy. And what do they decide to do? Why let the law settle it when we can go out and try and kill people ourselves? And that's exactly what Danny Glover and his boys start to do. They start to take out all the witnesses, but of course they can't get their hands on this kid because he's an Amish kid. And Harrison Ford, Kelly McGillis, they all head to Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, Harrison Ford did get clipped a little bit there, so he's starting to get really infected, and he's like he's getting all messed up. And luckily for him, the Amish, they're nice people. They take him in, they heal him up, and because there's no connection to technology or nothing, none of these other cops can find where Harrison Ford, Kelly McGillis, and the kid are. From there, we get a really nice romance. It's really impressive what they did in the shifting in tones, because the score always is changing as the film is going on. When it's a neo-noir thriller in the first part of this movie, the score matches it perfectly. And then in the second part of the movie, when it slows down, it just becomes more romantic, more cinematic. I mean, I never thought that I would care about them raising a barn or a nice little dancing scene inside of a barn where these characters have a real connection to each other. I really do think that Harrison Ford and Kelly McGillis have great connection. Harrison Ford also gets to show off his carpenter skills. Before he was an actor, he was a carpenter, so he gets to play around with that in this, and he looks like he's good at it. That's the one thing about Harrison Ford compared to other actors. You know, he's not clean cut. He seems like just a regular average Joe. That's because that's exactly what he was before he became an actor. He was just a regular old carpenter building houses. In this movie, he gets to build a birdhouse. And this is honestly one of his better performances. One of my favorite performances? No, I still give that edge to The Fugitive, and then obviously he's Indiana Jones and Han Solo, but this is really showing off that the guy is just a great actor with so much charm. I really did care about him and Kelly McGillis' relationship, all the fish out of water stuff. You know, this guy comes from the big city, and now he's got to settle into a land where they get up at 4:30 in the morning and milk the cows. All those scenes are great, and then it builds up to, again, a fantastic conclusion, a great third act. Again, the score matching all of the tension. This movie is also very, very, very well shot. You know, when you get those open field looks and just regular old grass, for some reason that is just so cinematic. It's so well shot. I really think that this is a fantastic movie from the 1980s that I think has gotten forgotten, honestly. And it's weird because it was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and made $116 million at the box office. Even won for Best Original Screenplay, which is well deserved because it is a very original screenplay. I don't see too many movies like this that are trying to balance a bunch of different genres, and each one seems to still work. I do enjoy the thriller moments more than I enjoy the romantic moments, but that's not to knock those moments. I just always prefer it when, you know, I just enjoy a good thriller, so when those moments are happening and the tension's building up, for me, those moments work a little bit more than the slowed down moments, but I understand why that's in there. And also, keep your eye out. There's a young Viggo Mortensen in this movie. I think this was his first film, and because he had such a good experience on the set, he decided to continue acting, and I just absolutely love that. It's a great story because he could have ended up on a set that he didn't like, and we would have never got this guy who's, you know, he's in The Lord of the Rings. He's one of the best actors to ever do it. You know, he's in numerous Best Picture winners, and it's really cool. He got to start here. He doesn't really talk too much. He's really just in the background, but he's doing great work as well. And this movie's just a really good 1980s movie. It doesn't feel like the cocaine 80s. This is actually one that's a little bit more focused. It's not really concentrating too much on the entertainment. There's not too many cheesy moments. There's a couple in there a little bit sprinkled in. You know, obviously it's a romance, so we're going to have those, you know, big moments that kind of get us out of our seat, but there's not too many of them, and they're not done too cheesily. They're done very classy, in my opinion, and I think that this is a great movie that I'm glad that Arrow Video has decided to put out this 4K Blu-ray, because I really think that will help more people see this movie or, you know, remember this movie. I feel like it's really forgotten. I think this Arrow Video 4K Blu-ray is really going to raise awareness for this film again and show you, hey, Harrison Ford, he's more than just Han Solo and Indiana Jones. So anyway, let's talk about this Arrow Video 4K Blu-ray that just came out. But before we do that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-rays, movie reviews, lists, podcasts, and sometimes shorts, we try to do them all here on the channel. Nothing helps the channel out more than by you just hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, and then we have channel memberships as well. So if you want to support the channel that way, we would absolutely appreciate it. But anyway, let's talk about this 4K. I don't know what we did, but Arrow Video broke out the fine china for us. We got their Arrow Video hard cases. I didn't expect that for a movie like Witness, but I guess they valued Witness a lot higher than most people do. Like I said in the movie review portion, I feel like this movie's just very forgotten, which is a real shame because, again, like most Peter Weir movies, I feel like are very forgotten. Other than The Truman Show and Dead Poets Society, I feel like we don't really talk too much about Peter Weir, and he is a fantastic director, and he's also a really cool guy. Watching interviews with him when I was checking out this Arrow Video 4K, he just seems like a really down-to-earth, energetic Australian guy. And he was giving the best interviews in the documentary that is on this disc, by the way. The documentary, the making of documentary, is one of the best on-disc making of documentaries I've seen. They really cover everything, but the best interview in that was Peter Weir. This guy's not an actor, he's a director, but yet he had the most energy than all of the actors talking. Viggo Mortensen, my God, thank God he's an actor because he is just flat through his interview. I was like, he didn't raise emotion at all. He looked like he wanted to go to sleep, but everybody else was doing a good job. But then, man, you could just tell Peter Weir has a passion for film, and he's just so energetic. It's a great making of, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because we got to unpack this bad boy. Like I said, we got the fine china. You come inside and look at this. You get the 4K. You get really nice paperwork. I love it when they whip out this, paper stock. So much in here. Pictures, essays. I think there's 5 essays in here. Just so well done. You also get a poster. Now, I always just keep these posters in the box. I have no room on my walls. It's really hard to tell from this angle, but this room is about 6 by 6 maybe. I think you can lay across the floor, and you can touch both sides of the walls no matter which way you lay. So there's not too much room, and these walls are already covered, plus the shelving of the movies. So these posters always just sit in the box, which is a shame because, again, really good paper stock on this. But we're here to talk about this 4K. We got the Arrow Video thick packaging 4K holders. You come inside. These are just like if you guys have the weird Signs 4K. If you guys saw those postcards, they have them right here. Again, great paper stocks. Some nice pictures that were taken from the film. Really did appreciate that. And then this is only one disc. So your 4K film is going to be on here, your setup features, and your special features. But that is it. There is no second Blu-ray disc. That was a little bit disappointing to me. I would have liked the Blu-ray disc to compare it to. But unfortunately, we did not get that here. We just have that 4K disc. And that 4K disc is going to have Dolby Vision HDR10 on it. It's going to have a DTS HD 5.1, and the original 2.0 looseless track if you want to check that out. If you're one of those film historians who wants to watch it in its original audio, you got that there. I chose to watch it with the DTS HD 5.1, which I thought was really, really good. Nothing too special. Like most DTS HD 5.1s, it's not something that's going to knock your socks off, but it did make great use of all the channels. And the score, like I said, I love the score of this movie. I think it did win the Academy Award, and they did a great job mixing it with this. The audio comes in crisp and clear. The dialogue, you never have to adjust your audio, which I always appreciate. Everything was clear, no pops, no sounds, no nothing like that. Everything was perfectly mixed. I loved how good it was done. It's not the greatest, like I said. It's to be expected, but for what it is pretty damn solid. And the fact that they included all the extras on this disc really did impress me. But I do think that did take a little bit away from the visuals, and we'll talk about that in a second. But there are a really good amount of extras on the one disc. You get an audio commentary track done by a film historian, which is pretty cool. I mean, I would have liked one, obviously, with Peter Weir or Harrison Ford. To each their own. Maybe you guys will like that one. I haven't checked it out yet, to be honest. I just ran it to make sure it worked, and yeah, it worked. Then you get some new interviews on there, and then, like I said earlier in the review, the coup de grace of extras, a making of documentary. You get a really good one on here. It's split up into 5 parts if you only want to watch one part at a time. I'm an animal, so I watched the whole thing last night after I watched the movie, despite getting home at midnight. So I put a lot of time into the movie, and then that documentary, I was just going to run it, but I really got invested in it, and I think it's really, really good. I'm so happy with the extras on here, so I really can't say too many bad things about the extras. I guess I could say I wanted more of them, but I think we got plenty, so I'm very, very happy with the extras. Now, the visuals. This was really tough for me because it really did feel like a scene-to-scene thing and a source material thing, and it might have even been an artistic choice. But some scenes just blew me away. I was like, oh my god, this is some of the best stuff I've ever seen on 4Ks. And then when you go inside and some of the interiors, especially early in the movie, there's a funeral scene, and it just, everything looks faded, the skin looks unnatural. You know, this is retaining like how the original film looked, and I remember how it looked. Every time I've seen this film, it does have this like faded look on the interiors, and the exteriors look a little bit nicer, so maybe that was an artistic choice. But I thought that with this 4K, they were going to sharpen that up, clean it up. You know, there's still a good amount of film grain. Nothing that really kind of bothered me though, but I really did feel like the colors just didn't work on some of these interior scenes. There's even scenes like where they'll cut to Harrison Ford and then they'll cut back to Kelly McGillis, and I just don't know if the lighting is off, but you'll definitely notice that maybe Harrison Ford looks a little bit better compared to how Kelly McGillis looks. And, you know, if it was an artistic choice, I can appreciate that, but it still threw me off every time I would see it get a little bit fuzzy and the skin would look a little bit off and the color looks like it's kind of being drained from the scene a little bit in comparison to some of the outdoor scenes where you can just see the HDR, the Dolby Vision just bumping, doing a great job showing you what a great 4K Blu-ray can be. And I mean, that stuff all just looks fantastic, but if you keep an eye on one actor throughout the entire film, you'll notice that their skin is kind of changing because it's a scene-to-scene thing, and that's just kind of unfortunate, and I kind of saw this earlier in the year, but it's not as bad as like Weird Science's Arrow Video 4K, where it felt like 30% would blow you away, while the other 70% was average. This feels like the opposite, where 70% of this 4K is amazing, while 30% I would say is about average, and I think you're gonna notice that. So unfortunately, I can't give it a perfect score on the visuals just because I noticed that even if it is an artistic choice, it's just gonna throw you off a little bit. And I think it bothered me a little more than it might bother other people, but you have to kind of see it for yourself. But for me personally, the visuals just it's just not as perfect as I was expecting it to be. I thought they were gonna clean up certain scenes, and they didn't. I don't know if that was a choice, source material, but I don't know, it kind of bothered me a little bit, so I can't give the visuals a complete pass. Unfortunately, I still think it's a very, very, very well done 4K Blu-ray in the visuals department. And overall, they did a great job on this 4K Blu-ray. I absolutely love the packaging. That's a 10 out of 10. The audio is good enough. It's as good as I expected it to be. It didn't exceed my expectations, but it also met my expectations, so that's always good. The extras, I love the extras on this 4K Blu-ray. I thought it was great. I wish they kind of would have included a second Blu-ray, put the extras on there. I think that maybe could have took away from the visuals. I'm not 100% sure, but we didn't get that here. And then the visuals, like I said, that's my biggest disappointment with this. So overall, how would I grade this Arrow Video 4K Blu-ray on a score of 1 to 10? I would still give it a pretty good 8.5 out of 10. I can recommend it at its full price of $35 just because the packaging is so well done. But if this ever gets included in an Arrow Video sale, I say if you can wait to watch this film, I would get it in a sale instead of buying it right now at its full price. I'm happy I did. I absolutely love this movie like I love most Peter Weir movies, so it didn't really bother me. I also was really looking forward to revisiting it, and if you are looking forward to revisiting this movie and you want to grab it right now, I can say it's definitely worth your money, but if you can wait, get it in a sale. That would be my opinion on this 4K Blu-ray. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us here on another episode of Let's Talk. And if you like this video, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We also have channel memberships, and I want to thank my two producers, Frank Rodriguez and Jason Martin, and my director, Kevin Kruger. We really appreciate your support. If you guys want to join those ranks, hit that join button or look in the description below to see how you can do it. We're also doing a giveaway for all of our channel members. At the end of this month, we'll be giving away Mean Streets on 4K Blu-ray, signed, sealed, and delivered. Not signed by anyone unless you want it signed by me, but it will be sealed and delivered to you if you are a channel member. We'll put your name on a magic wheel. We'll spin that bad boy. The name it lands on, they will be your winner. But anyway, guys, enough of me rambling on. I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your day.